Welcome back. We are covering number 9 of 25 inspirational stories to encourage you in your business journey and on your business journey. And today, number 9 is Henry Ford. But before we get started, do me a favor, a big favor. Click the subscribe button, click the thumbs up, and click the alert button. It certainly helps and it's certainly appreciated by me. When I first started this series, actually, I only had 6 subscribers, and we're up to 11, right? We're making progress. And so I kind of talked about that in the first video where we cover the valley of disappointment and the plateau of latent potential in that first video that I made. And I think it's a good one. If you haven't watched that, I encourage you to click on the playlist and go check that one out and the other prior videos if this is your first video. But I do appreciate you being here and checking it out. And hopefully this is encouraging to you on your business journey. And just don't give up. If you're in the middle of failing, or if you failed before and but it's burning in you, if you're an entrepreneur, you're always going to be dabbling, doing something in some way, right? And you know who you are. You know this resonates with you when you know that your fulfillment is best enjoyed when you're doing your own thing, right? So want to encourage you to get back in there if you've taken a break, and if you're in the middle of failing, don't give up, right? The final chapter hasn't been written. So we're going to get going. We're going to cover Henry Ford today. And again, being a son of Detroit and from Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, grew up in the city. My grandmother actually retired from Ford, so this one, is kind of cool for me. Henry Ford was born to his mother and father, William and Mary Ford, on a farm in Spring Wells Township, Michigan, on July 30th, 1863, and he's the youngest of 5 children. His father gave him a pocket watch, and Ford disassembled it and reassembled it and did it for family and friends, and became known actually as a watch repairman. He also Ford was also known to walk to church 4 miles one way every Sunday. Which is interesting because if you're walking, and that was in his 20s, right? If you're walking 4 miles one way, and especially in the inclement weather that you get in Michigan here in the wintertime with the snow, I gotta imagine that kind of maybe had some impact in terms of figuring out a better way and a quicker way to get there to and from. So, but at 28, he decided to become an engineer and worked for the Edison Illuminating Company and was promoted to chief engineer. So, again, he wasn't spring chicken, he wasn't old by any means, but wasn't like right out of high school or anything when he decided to become an engineer, or college even, but was 28. But within 2 years was promoted to being the chief engineer. And it's during this time that it's noted where he began actually inventing and developing his first self-propelled car. So he started his first auto company with some capital from William H. Murphy, who was a local lumber baron, and named it the Detroit Automobile Company. But he ultimately ended up having to fold the company because he couldn't repay the loan from the Dodge brothers, which also has a big automotive industry name as well. But due to the inefficiency of the design of the automobile. So again, it failed, right? He had some opportunity and work to do there, and didn't hit a home run or a grand slam right out of the gate. He then went on to convince one of his partners to give him a second chance and, probably get some capital to try his second venture. And that ultimately failed due to the disagreements, which happens when you have partners sometimes. It's not always smooth sailing, but again, that happened then. So he gave it one more try. And when he did it, he was in his 40s. And I talk about this quite often, right? I hear people and being in, somebody who's getting a little bit long in the tooth myself, it's hard to think about, moving in and trying another venture, right? And I'm currently trying these 2 YouTube channels with a small biz shout out and free advice from your uncle, right? And again, it's taken extra time, and after work, 'cause I have a full-time job, a wife and 4 kids, and a killer Shih Tzu. So it takes time to put and invest into these channels, and just with like any video or any venture rather, you got to put that time in if you're working a full-time job. So, but he was in his 40s, like a lot of people later in their career. Got $28,000 from investors. That also included the Dodge brothers, who he basically stiffed in his first company. So but this was the one, right? It was the third try. And again, it starting an automobile company is a little bit different because it's so capital and heavy intensive and equipment and, just commodity intensive that it's not a quick and easy undergoing, right? It's not like starting a quick franchise and you try it 4, 5, 6, 7 times. It's a huge deal to put together and start an automobile company, and a lot different than a lot of business models. But Ford is credited for perfecting the assembly line production, and the Model T that he developed initially here became, the dominant automobile in America. And most people who were driving at that time learned on the Model Ts. And I think one of the, funny statements that he's credited for making is, because all the Model Ts that were produced were black, and Ford has supposedly said that all his customers could have any color they wanted in the Model T as long as it was black. So anyway, that's Henry Ford, and obviously they're still producing cars, currently, and they also own the Detroit Lions, which fortunately they make a better car than they do running the football team. But enough of that. Still got to be loyal to my Lions, and also Ford, the big three here in Detroit. So that's going to do it. And again, before we go, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, click the thumbs up, click the alert button, and we will talk to you at our next video.